Let's start with pretty much the most obvious one, but it's where we have to start. And that's with the team that has the number one pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers. They made their move. Yes. They took their swing. And now this becomes a potential franchise. It's going to be a franchise-altering draft no matter how it goes. We're just going to figure out whether that's in a good or bad way. The Panthers are going to draft a quarterback, and they are going to set in motion what the next at least 5 years of their franchise probably look like.
Yep. The clock started. We kind of knew that they would maybe be angling. It feels like another lifetime ago when we're looking at who could possibly trade up for number one. And Panthers were always mentioned, even at they were at number 9 to move up to number 1, which still should not be underemphasized. That moving up from 9 to 1 is such a big move. And like even if it stays in the top 10, it's a
but
huge,
it always
huge
felt
move.
like they were the logical team.
They were,
and it's, if you guys have not read the story that Adam Johns, Kevin Fishbane, and Joe Person, who cover the Bears and Panthers respectively for us at The Athletic, wrote earlier today, really encourage you to do that. I mean, real insight into the process that went into the Panthers trading with the Bears to get the number 1 overall pick. Poles is on the record. Scott Fitterer is on the record. I mean, they did a fantastic job laying out the entire timeline associated with this. And one of the notes in that piece was kind of something we had talked about through this entire process, that the Panthers didn't want to do this again because Frank Reich has just done this. Along with the Panthers being on this quarterback merry-go-round every single year, Frank Reich had just done this in Indianapolis. So if you're just thinking about the motivations in the building for making sure that this is salted away and you just get off of this nightmarish ride from hell that you've been on for the last 3 or 4 years, I think there was enough of that had piled up in Carolina where they were a very logical team for something like this to happen. And now we get to see what the actual results look like.
Yeah, and even if some of the personnel from the Panthers, personnel execs members have not changed, it still felt like they never tabbed their guy. Like, you know, they had Baker and Darnold and PJ Walker and, you know, Matt Corral in the 3rd round last year. That doesn't count. That's bonus. That's not a your guy selection. So, like, I love that you bring it up with Frank Reich because that's exactly it. As soon as he goes there, I'm sure they had that first meeting where they're like, or one of the first meetings, they're like, hey, we're thinking about moving up. And he was probably like, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's get one of my guys like that I actually scouted and have input on. And not to say that some of those vets that the Colts signed or traded for the last few years under his regime, that he didn't have say in it, but it's totally different when you're tabbing a guy in the draft and you're starting him, whatever mold of clay that you're looking at. But it's just one thing is that we knew this was going to be a huge draft for the Panthers in some way, shape, or form, because I believe we both really like the roster and that they could do a lot of interesting things. Now, just moving up to 1 is just, it's under bigger magnifying glass. It has more ramifications, but I actually like this kind of self-imposed pressure that they put on themselves. I kind of like that. It's like, hey, no, let's set the clock and let's make sure we get our guys so we're leaving no doubt, leaving no excuses that, oh, you know, the other 3 guys that we love, they were already gone. Sorry. Now we have to find some vet to fill the void. Oh, Andy Dalton's our starter this year. It really just seems like they're like, nope, we're making sure that we're leaving no doubt, no excuses that could possibly be made. I'm sure the owner doesn't hate that as well.
You look at what their roster looks like just top to bottom. On offense, what they did in free agency, and I think this is the right strategy, make sure that we don't leave any glaring holes outside of quarterback so we don't have to reach for anything else in the draft. So that's fairly set if you look at the 11 starters after signing Adam Thielen, after going to get DJ Chark, and then you drop the quarterback in there. We like a lot of the pieces that they have on defense. You know, you could probably go get another edge rusher somewhere along the way. You could probably go get, you know, a little bit of depth here and there, but I think top to bottom, it is a team that is ready to be at least solid pretty quickly with the right quarterback.
They have difference makers at every position. Not so like everybody's a star, but they have actual like above average to good play. It's not replacement level play. No. So like what you're saying, some depth drop in. They still, you know, have a couple 4th rounders. They have their 2nd round. They have their 3rd rounder. They can still find guys that are going to play snaps for them, and not just like, oh, we have to play this guy, but actual guys that can make an impact on this team. So yeah, they set themselves up where even how aggressive they were, I understand why they did it.
There's really not that much interesting stuff to talk about because we know they're going to draft a quarterback. With some of these other teams, there are more sliding doors moments. I think the thing worth considering, and they mentioned this in the piece, and I think that it's important, they did not trade the number 39 pick. They still have that other top 40 pick. And Scott Fitterer said it was important to keep that thing. We didn't want to be drafting number 1 and then waiting all the way into the 60s, which is the pick that they got from the Niners in the Christian McCaffrey trade. So they still have another one in the top 40 to potentially go get another pass catcher if they feel like they need that, to go get another interior defensive line potentially, or another edge rusher, whatever they need. So this is a team, along with the quarterback they're going to draft number 1, has another pick in the top 40 to go get another starter to drop into the equation for this season. That isn't a dice roll that you're like, maybe we'll get somebody and we'll hit somebody in the 3rd round with the 100th pick in the draft. At 39, you want someone hopefully that is going to be able to contribute right away to what you are in 2023. And that's probably what they're looking at.
And even just looking at the draft and looking through the lens of what, it's a educated guessing game about where everybody's going to go. And we talk about value and everything, but which is kind of just such an arbitrary thing, but still it matters. But looking at this receiver class and even the defensive line class, there's a lot of guys slotted in that area between picks 25 and 40 or 50, where it makes a lot more sense. And like you said, you're not reaching for a guy. It's an actual guy that can do something for you. It feels like the Panthers are set, and especially with that very expensive coaching staff as well, which cannot, also another thing that cannot be underemphasized enough. It really feels like they're building for a 2-year window here. And then after that 2024 season, I know I'm getting way ahead of myself, they're going to take a deep breath as a franchise. And hopefully you can reconfigure the whole team off a rookie QB deal. That's what it really feels like to me, just as like an outsider and seeing what they're piecing together. And I like it.
And for a team that traded up from 9 to 1 in this draft, they still have a lot of picks because of the McCaffrey trade.
Yes.
They still have the Niners pick in the 3rd round. They traded theirs to New England, which we've discussed enough at this point. They still have the Niners pick in the 4th round, plus their own pick in the 4th round.
Yep.
So overall, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks in the top 4 rounds, while also owning the number 1 pick in the draft. They're giving away their first next year and their second in 2025. We know that, but they still have a decent amount of picks simply because of the McCaffrey trade. So they're in an interesting spot and a pivotal spot for the franchise overall.
Yes. Yeah, and the draft and everything. The Panthers hold all the cards. There's a lot that's going to trickle down from what the Panthers are, even in their division. I mean, there's so much ramifications. What happens in the NFC South based on what the Panthers do? It's one of the most intriguing teams this entire season, even before they moved up to number 1. I'm excited to see what the path that they lay out.